Good morning, everyone. My name is Ann Mitchell. I work for EGLE as the program manager for the Septic Replacement Loan Program, which many of you have probably heard about thus far. I hope so, at least. And if you haven't, well, welcome. I'm going to give you a lot of info in the next 45 minutes or so. And if it's repeat, then you can sit back and relax and enjoy and celebrate the success of all the work we've done together over the last year. I love to pack way too much in on an agenda, but per usual, I promise to get through it and leave time for questions and not keep you guys late. Today, what we're gonna do is sort of move chronologically through the program. So we're gonna start about what is this program, why do we have a septic replacement loan program in Michigan, and why is that important? We're gonna talk about the work that we did with Michigan Saves and many of you in this room to get this program ready to launch. And then I'm gonna share a lot of the information and the data post-launching. So how many systems have we put in? Where have we put systems in? Things like that. We're then going to talk about the future and our goals for next year and ways that we hope to expand and grow. And like I said, then hopefully we'll have lots of good questions and discussion at the end. So like I said, we're going to move through time. We're going to start pre this program even existing with a basis in the background for the program. So how did this come to Michigan and why is it important? And in Michigan, we have over 1.3 million septic systems, which as you can see is significantly higher than the rest of our Midwest neighbors. That's largely due to our increased population comparatively. Currently, over 50% of new construction is on septic systems, and we have over 35% of our existing infrastructure on residential septic systems. Last year alone, our local health departments permitted over 17,000 septic systems. So they're kind of a big deal here. And the other side to that is drinking water in Michigan. So we have an estimated 1.2 million drinking water wells, with about 25% of our residents relying on water wells for their drinking water resource. And furthermore, as we know, we don't get the name Great Lakes State for nothing. We have a lot of freshwater resources that are really important to us here in Michigan. We are home to 4 out of the 5 Great Lakes, 6.5 million acres of wetland, 11,000 inland lakes, over 76,000 miles of river, and over 1,200 public and private beaches. So freshwater is a really big deal here. And how is this all connecting? Septic systems, wells, surface water, what does that all mean? Well, they are all connected, and as we know, septic systems are an integral part of our water cycle. So everything that we're flushing down our drains and putting into these systems is slowly making its way back into our environment. And when properly designed, installed, and maintained, these systems do a great job at protecting public health and the environment. However, when we start to run into failing systems or systems that are not designed or installed properly is where we start to see issues. So failing septic systems pose risks to both public and environmental health through the pollution of groundwater and drinking water aquifers, lakes, rivers, and streams. And it is estimated that of the 1.3 million septic systems statewide, 20% of those are currently failing to adequately treat the wastewater in which they're receiving. So that's accounting for millions of gallons of sewage being inadequately or improperly treated prior to re-entering our environment. And again, usually at this point when I'm describing this situation to friends or colleagues, the answer is, okay, so why aren't we fixing them? People who have failing septic systems should have to fix them. It's contaminating our water. We don't want that. Well, as everyone in this room knows, it's very expensive. So the average cost of a septic system can range from $10,000 to upwards of $40,000. And in recent bank rate studies, it's estimated that most Americans cannot even afford a $1,000 emergency. So right there we have a gap. This need for updated infrastructure, but a lack of available financial resource to do so. So with that, the SRLP was sort of born. The on-site wastewater management unit at EGLE began having these discussions on what can we bring to assist Michigan homeowners and contractors and local health departments to offer a resource for these replacements. And in September of 2022, our governor signed Public Act 22, which allocated $35 million to EGLE to develop and implement a statewide program to replace failing septic systems. In May of 2023, EGLE contracted with Michigan Saves, which I'm sure many of you have spoken with the Michigan Saves folks at some point already over the course of the last year, but if not, they are here today. Please raise your hands. We have Pat over here, Nishat, and Bob. If you have any questions after this, grab one of them or grab their business cards. They're really good resources to have in your back pocket. In the fall of 2023, EGLE began working with a group of local health department stakeholders to develop a set of program minimum standards for the design and installation of these systems. And then May 21st of 2024, we launched both Tier 1 and Tier 2 loans to Michigan homeowners. So I mentioned Michigan Saves a little bit. I just wanted to introduce them formally. They are a nonprofit green bank that generally, or up until this program, they've really focused on energy efficiency. So they do heating and cooling and roofs and a whole slew of things that I am not involved in. This is their first septic project, and they have been really great to work with thus far. So some general provisions of these loans. These are unsecured personal loans for individuals owning residential dwellings. They are for sites with documented failing, near failing, or similarly inadequate or non-existent septic systems. And that is to be determined by the local health department. And replacement systems must be evaluated, permitted, and installed in accordance with those program minimum standards that I mentioned and that we will talk more about in just a few slides. So some eligible costs for financing through this program include system evaluation, system design, pumping, and installation. I should note that permitting is eligible, but in order to lump permitting into the financing, the contractor would have to pay that up front and then loop it into the loan amount at the end. So that would be between contractor and homeowner if that's something that you wanted to offer. So I mentioned earlier 2 tiers of loan. So this program is broken down into 2 tiers. We have the Tier 1 loan, which is the low income loan, and that is locked in at a 1% interest rate for the life of the loan with loan terms up to 10 years. That is based on federal poverty level. So currently we're using 200% of the federal poverty level as sort of our threshold for determining that eligibility. These numbers are from last year, so they were actually just updated a couple of days ago. That updated table can be found on Michigan Save's website, and then any of the marketing materials that are here this week include this year's numbers. So, but these are unsecured personal loans with no lien or collateral required. Again, locked interest rate of 1%, and with loan terms up to 10 years and a max loan amount of $30,000. And then the Tier 2 is a standard market-based loan package. So standard underwriting criteria, these are for the folks that don't fall within those income guidelines for the Tier 1, but still want to utilize financing to replace their system. And right now, as of yesterday, Michigan Saves let me know that the lowest interest rate for that is sitting around 6.5%. And they utilize a network of local lenders. So I included some of the lenders that we've worked with so far in the program. They're available statewide, and as you can see, they're pretty common. I'm sure you've worked with many of them yourselves. So that was sort of the basis, the background, and now we're entering the pre-launch. So what do we need to do to get ready to roll this out for Michigan homeowners? And that took a lot of work, and that started with, as I mentioned, developing a standard for design and installation based on industry best practice to do our best to assure that any system being funded through this program is protective of both public and environmental health. That was a critical component and a critical priority to EGLE as we created this program. So those standards were done in collaboration with local health departments, like I mentioned. And again, the mission was to be both protective of public and environmental health. Some things that we sort of did when we were coming up with these program minimum standards was we divided sites into 2 categories based on soil and site conditions, so seasonal high water table, soil texture, elevation, proximity to surface water, all of that good stuff that we all get to sort out when you go out to do a site evaluation. We took all of that into consideration and sort of subcategorized these systems into Category 1 and Category 2. And our Category 1 systems are our good site conditions. So we have at least 18 inches of non-modeled soil, usually a lighter textured soil, surface water is not super close. And then for all of those problematic sites that we see many of, they get bumped to what we call Category 2. So that's where we have less than 18 inches of non-modeled soil or really close to a surface water body, really heavy soil textures, things like that. Both of those categories have a minimum isolation to water table and some minimum design criteria I think in length, this document is now up to 20 pages, so that can be found on EGLE's website. I encourage you, if you're going to participate in the program, to look at the full document at least once, but we also have sort of a cheat sheet guide here today that's back on the table that is also a good reference. And then approved proprietary treatment technology. So like I mentioned, we have a category 2 for the more challenging sites, and with that comes hopefully the use of advanced technology or alternative technology. So we did put out a request for submission for design manuals that are specific to this program based on our program minimum standards. And those approved design manuals are housed and will be continued to be housed on EGLE's website. And that's kind of a rolling process. So if you have a product as a contractor that you really like using, you don't see that it's been put on our list, or you just want to know, reach out to me. We can talk about it. I can reach out to them directly and let them know what we need from them. So then once we finalized our program minimum standards last January, we really had to sort of get the word out. So we had to educate people. What is this program? What are the stipulations for participating? How do we recruit authorized contractors? On and on and on. And that required a lot of what I call boots on the ground work. So we went everywhere, it felt like. But we held 3 virtual webinars specific to, can you guys hear me okay? Yeah. Okay. Specific for local health department staff. We held multiple contractor trainings virtually and in person, attended a lot of local contractor workshops and those annual certification meetings that many of you go to with your local health department. We went to a national conference, various statewide conferences, really tried to get the word out and make sure that people felt prepared and comfortable for when the launch came. So authorized contractors, I mentioned that a little bit. Any system installed through this program must be installed by a Michigan Saves authorized contractor, and that requires that you provide a certain level proof of insurance, being in good standing with the state of Michigan with your business license. If you work in a local health department or in a county that requires certification of contractors, you need to be in good standing with your county and be certified on their list. And then it also requires that you attend Michigan Saves EGLE training. So we host virtually their hour-long trainings. It's pretty robust. It goes over how to submit a job, those program minimum standards, what we need from you. We make sure that you feel comfortable in knowing who you need to call for what. So once you've provided those documents to us, attended that training, then you are an authorized contractor. Currently, as of yesterday, we had 111. I know this morning as I was walking up, we signed 2 more businesses up. So that's continuing to grow. And as you can see, there's this map on Michigan Saves website right now. So if you have a homeowner or if you yourself are just curious and you go to their website, there's a big orange button that says Find My Contractor. It takes you to this great interactive tool. You can put in your zip code or your address, and it will show homeowners who's available and already authorized in their area. I also like to highlight, recently we've had some discussions at EGLE with other programs outside of the loan program, and they have found this tool and are using it in their own outreach and marketing. So it's kind of a great showcase for your business. It shows that you're wanting to help Michigan homeowners. You know, you have been through this training, and I think that's a great thing. And I just kind of went through this, but here again are some of those requirements for becoming an authorized contractor. If you want to get authorized this week at the conference, we are waiving, there's a $50 fee. We're waiving that if you do it here with us. So come find one of us after this if you're interested. Again, more information on the material on the tables at the back of the room. So I encourage you to grab those and read it over if you want to think about it a little bit. And again, reach out if you have questions. So our marketing strategy, we did a lot of boots on the ground, but then we also did a lot of virtual marketing. So we issued press releases, we developed rack cards and homeowner-facing flyers. We did social media campaigns, we put information, we developed an EGLE landing page specific for local health department staff and a Michigan Saves landing page specific for both contractors and homeowners interested in the program. We also really thought it was important that we captured marketing content that was specific to our program and our work. There's a lot of images online of septic tanks and drain fields, but we really wanted what we're putting out to be specific to us. So we did a marketing day with actually one of our authorized contractors, Michigan Saves. I'm not sure if they're here today or not, but we met them out at one of their installs, and Michigan Saves has a really great group marketing team that came out and brought a drone out and got a lot of great images that we now can use in further promotions. And then we also were able to do a case study with another one of our authorized contractors, Nick Sargent, who I'm sure is sitting out here. And we got some really good content from that. I'm gonna have Pat go ahead and play the case study video we were able to put together. Thank you. So we got to do a lot of fun stuff like that. And then we were able to launch May 21st of 2024. So I want to go over sort of the process. How does this work? And it starts with the homeowner, which is no surprise. But the homeowner realizes they have a failing septic system. Usually they've called someone in this room and said, can you come pump my tank? I don't know what's going on. And you get out there and you say, no, you have a much bigger problem on your hands and you need to call the health department. And at that point they realize that they need to replace their system. And they're instructed to find an authorized contractor. So if they're already working with you and you're authorized, then that's checked off their list. If they're working with you and you're not authorized, that again is a rolling process. So you could reach out to myself or someone from Michigan Saves. We could get you authorized to help that homeowner, or we will refer them to that map tool that I showed and ask them to find a local contractor that they want to work with who is authorized. From there, they need to get their local health department permit, and that needs to be in accordance with the program minimum standards. And then you give them a bid based on the permit, and they go on and they apply for a loan based on the bid. Once they've been approved for financing, the contractor has to upload a copy of the local health department permit and EGLE. I go in and, as it was mentioned, I review each of them individually, and I will reach out to you directly if I need to see revisions or if I have questions or if I need more information. And I give you the clearance on when it's okay to get out there and start installing. And generally, I tell contractors, do not schedule the install until we have an approved permit. That's to protect you all. I don't want anyone getting out, installing a system where the permit needs revisions, and then holding up the payment at the end of the job. So it's really important on all of these that not only I go in and do my review, but that you as the installer wait before you put anything in. So then once the permit has been approved, it's sort of business as usual. The system gets installed, your local health department comes out and does their final inspection per usual. Once you have that final inspection report for the health department, you're going to upload that, and then you're going to upload what's called a COC, Certificate of Completion. That is a document that's signed by both the contractor and the homeowner. It's basically saying, yep, I'm happy, everything was put in like it's supposed to be. You upload that. We do one quick check to make sure everything's in, the permit, that final. If you're using an existing tank, we do require a pump record that's specific to this program that it's a checkbox for you to say that it's watertight, structurally sound, things like that. And then the contractor's paid directly. So either by direct deposit or a check in the mail. If you sign up for direct deposit, you're generally paid within 24 to 48 hours. If you do the check in the mail, generally it's a week to a week and a half is what I've been seeing. So I just kind of went over this. I skipped ahead of myself, but all of these permits, again, are reviewed by me, by EGLE. And from the time that the permit is uploaded, we have 5 business days to complete our review and respond to you. Again, you'll hear a response either way. So if everything looks good, I'll say, permit's been approved, good to go, have fun. If I need revisions, I'll say, permit has been reviewed, I have some questions, let me know what you think. And then we kind of go from there. So now I'm going to dive into some data. So what have we seen since launching in May? We've seen a lot of applications, which, again, no surprise. We know that this is a service that's really needed statewide. And we've had 239 loan applications. This data was end of November, so this has changed even since then quite a bit. But we've had 148 approved loans, which results in over $2.5 million in approved funding. And then what I did was sort of broke it down based on quarter. So our first quarter, May to the end of June, we had 12 systems installed, inspected, and fully funded. And you can see they range from way down at the bottom of Michigan all the way to the tippity top of the UP. And then from May to September, we were up to 47 systems that had been fully installed, approved, and funded. And then again, as of the end of November, we were up to 80 systems on the year that were fully installed and funded and approved by the local health department. I just wanted to show sort of the breakdown between the Tier 1 and the Tier 2, and really right now it's about 50%. And here's a little bit more in-depth data about how those are breaking down. The tier 1, as you can see, has a higher denial rate, lower approval rate, but as far as total loan applications, we're pretty much neck and neck still. And then again, I wanted to break it down between category 1 and category 2, so our conventional systems and then our more advanced systems. I've heard a lot of mumblings that with the program minimum standards, all these systems are going to be advanced or raised, and that's actually not true from what we've been seeing so far. So a majority of these are category 1 systems, meaning many of them are conventional systems and grade systems with decent site stipulations or characteristics. So loan denials, the most common reason for loan denial is a recent bankruptcy, delinquent charge-offs on a credit report, and debt-to-income ratio being too high. So program expansion, pretty early on in the development of this program, we recognize that this is going to be something that we have to be ready and willing to learn and grow as we go. So there were going to be things that came up that we would have to bring back internally and potentially adjust the program and make changes because we want it to be as accessible as possible. So pretty early on, we began receiving a lot of calls about municipal sewer connections. When this first launched, municipal sewer connections of any kind were not eligible for financing. We were getting a lot of homeowner calls. I have a failing septic system, but now municipal sewer is available and my local municipality is requiring that I connect. It's gonna cost me 15 grand. Can I get a loan? We were having to turn those folks away. So we kind of brought it back to EGLE internally, took it up the chain, and we were able to offer that service now. So municipal sewer connections are now available for financing in the event that there is an existing failing septic system and municipal sewer already available. So it won't cover the repair or the replacement of an existing sewer line, and it won't cover the expansion of municipal sewer, so it won't extend that line. And then also another early request or early maybe trend that we noticed was a lot of contractors would call us and say, I have what I think is a tier 1 applicant. They can't afford the permit, and I'm hesitant to pay that up front because what if they don't get approved for the loan? And then you're kind of on the hook for that as the contractor. So Michigan Saves on a case-by-case basis now. If you're in that situation as a contractor, you can have your homeowner call Michigan Saves. They will work with the lender directly to get, we don't like to use pre-approval, but sort of a better idea of what that borrowing power for that customer will be. So then at the forefront of the job, you have an idea that they will get approved and this is how much, and you can feel more comfortable covering that permit or that design cost for them at the start. And then another thing that we ran into is those program minimum standards in a lot of areas statewide are more stringent than local sanitary code. And local health department staff expressed concerns about permitting outside of their sanitary code. So we at EGLE developed a local health department permit addendum. It's a one-page document that local health departments can attach to their permits, outlines the specs specific to this program, and also outlines to homeowners. It makes it very clear that these additional requirements are because they're participating in the loan program. So they're not being required by the local regulator, they're being required by the loan program. So looking ahead, we have some big goals for 2025. We want to increase our contractor network by 25%. It's really important to us that Michigan homeowners have choices when it comes to contractors. So continuing to recruit and train a large network of authorized contractors gives them more choices, more options as they move through with projects. We want to exceed $4 million in approved funding, and then this is a good opportunity to acknowledge there's a lot of people that this program can't help, and it's the people that fall way below those tier 1 numbers that can't get approved for a loan. We are working very hard to try to source some supplemental grant funds for our tier 1 denials, because at this point, you have somebody who's in a really financially vulnerable position, they have a failing system, they apply for a loan, they're denied. There's essentially no resource for them. And now the health department is aware of their failing system, they're really stressed. So we're working really hard at the state level, at the federal level, and down at the local level to sort of regionally source more grant options for those folks. Fingers crossed. And then preparation for next season. So annual local contractor meetings, invite us. If you're at a local health department that makes you go or invites you to go to a contractor meeting every spring, let them know about us and we would be happy to come and chat. Or if your business hosts an annual meeting or an annual contractor event, we would love to come and chat or sit in the back and just answer questions for folks. May 21st, we're going to be hosting an EGLE webinar specific for sanitarians, but contractors are certainly welcome to sit in on that as well. It's going to be permitting in this program. So exactly what we're looking for, common trends that we're seeing with permits now, the revision request process and how that works. And then it will also go over that permit addendum a little bit more. We're also going to be hosting 2 authorized contractor trainings with Michigan Saves virtually this spring. So TBD on those dates. March 18 and April 15. So that correspondence will be coming directly from Michigan Saves. That can be, if you're already authorized, it's a great refresher before the install season starts. If you think you maybe want to be authorized, you can sit in just to get a feel for what this looks like and maybe ask more questions. Or if you are authorized but you haven't installed any jobs yet, we encourage you to just pop on and listen in. And then homeowner referrals. So this time of year is kind of that weird, depending on where you're at in the state, you probably aren't installing systems right now, but you're probably getting calls and sort of getting those names and jobs lined up for the spring already. Keep those folks in mind, or if you have somebody who's calling you right now and they're expressing concern on how they're going to pay for this in the spring or the amount, send them our way and we can sort of start this process now, make sure that they get their permit, everything's in order, they can apply for their loan now, and then we can have everything ready to go for when you're given the green light to go out there and install. So I just included some links. This is a lot of words. Maybe take a picture of it. I'm guessing this PowerPoint will be available after too. But we have, like I said, a lot of resources available online to help you and to help homeowners that you're working with who may be interested, or your local health department staff who maybe needs some help. And then this is sort of who to go for what. So anything technical expertise-wise, septic-wise is coming. You can direct that to me. Or, you know, I know right now a lot of our sanitarians out in the field are brand spanking new to the industry. If you have a sanitarian that you're like, this homeowner wants to do the loan program, and they say, I don't know what I need to do, please have them call me or email me or text me or whatever they want. I'm here to help the local health departments, to help you, to answer any specific questions about design, install requirements. That's all on me. Everything else can go to Michigan Saves. They have a great customer service team. They also are just really helpful in general. So anything loan related, lender related, uploading, if you're having any issues uploading any of the documents, that can all be directed to Michigan Saves. And that's it. Thank you very much. Any questions, comments? You just have to watch our training, and that's virtual, so you don't have to come, you don't have to travel for that. You should go sign up. And we're waiving the fee if you do it this week. So save yourself $50 if you're interested at all and sign up. And also if you do sign up and then later you decide, you know, I'm overwhelmed or I'm not interested, that's okay. There's no, you know, you don't have to meet a certain quota every year or anything like that. But if anything, it just showcases you as being available when people get on and are searching. And I think that that's always a great toolkit to have in your pocket as a business owner. Yeah. Any other questions for me? Okay. Well, thank you very much, guys. Enjoy the last little bits of your conference.